Are we live?
It's processing right now.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You can leave it open.
Okay, we are live.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gardner Road Affordable Housing Development Community Meeting. We're going to get started in a few minutes, but we want to welcome you to our meeting this evening. We've got some great information for you, and we're looking forward to receiving your feedback. So I am now pulling up publicinput.com/Gardner so I can monitor what's happening on that feed. In a few minutes, but we want to welcome you to, all right. We are indeed live. So Larissa, can you make the announcement about the Spanish interpretation for the meeting and invite those folks who want to join us in Zoom to Zoom? And Jasmine, if you can go to that slide so folks know where to go. Larissa, turn your mic on.
Buenas tardes a todas las personas que nos acompañan en este momento. Estamos por comenzar nuestra reunión comunitaria de Gardner Road. Si ustedes están interesados en recibir interpretación en español, por favor vayan al link que está aquí en la parte de abajo.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias.
And there is a slight delay for the folks who are on Zoom versus the folks who are watching through public input on YouTube Live. And so we will just make sure that we try to keep everybody on the same track tonight in terms of the information. And Larissa, you can just go ahead and after each comment, just translate it just in case there are folks that would need that.
Ok, en este momento vamos a comenzar nuestra reunión de viviendas asequibles en la Junta de Desarrollo y les agradecemos por su retroalimentación. Si necesitan más información en este momento, pueden visitar el sitio web gardnerdevelopmentatx.com.
Thank you. Gracias. All right. So Jasmine, I think we wanted folks to tell us something about why they were joining us tonight. Can you pull up that slide? Thank you. So before we get started, we'd love to hear from you and make sure that our chat is working. And so if you want to go ahead and put in the chat, whether you're in Zoom or public input, what do you hope to get out of today's meeting? What do you hope to get out of today's meeting?
En este momento nos gustaría saber qué es lo que a ustedes les interesa sacar, recibir de esta junta y si nos pueden hacer, por favor, si nos pueden hacer el favor de poner en la sección de comentarios esta información, se los agradeceríamos bastante, dependiendo de si están en Public Input o en Zoom.
Thank you so much. And again, welcome. If you're just joining us, we will get started in a few minutes. This is the community meeting for Gardner Road Development Project. And all of our panelists are here. We are waiting a few minutes for our start time, and then we will begin the presentation. We've got lots of good information for you tonight and hope to hear from you.
En este momento queremos agradecerles por estar con nosotros en esta reunión y tenemos ya a todos nuestros panelistas para comenzar. Solo estamos esperando unos minutos para empezar en la hora indicada.
So you can leave your input in the comment box, and you can find the comment box in public input, underneath the video screen or next to it, depending on the size of your screen.
Si nos están acompañando por parte de Public Input, les invitamos a que pongan sus comentarios en la sección de comentarios que está en la lateral del video. Ahí es donde existe un campo de comentarios a la derecha de este video.
Thank you. And so let us know that you're here and what you hope to get out of tonight's meeting.
Y por favor, escriban en esta sección de comentarios lo que ustedes están buscando recibir de la reunión del día de hoy.
I'm checking for comments. I see some from a few minutes ago.
Estamos revisando los comentarios en este momento y vemos algunos que son de hace un par de minutos.
So thank you all for those who are making comments. There are also other ways to give us input this evening. So Jasmine, if you can go to the slide with the, so I'll cover this first. So if you're needing Spanish interpretation, you can join us through the Zoom application and and if you're on there now, raise your hand and we will make sure that you're in the right place.
Si usted nos acompaña por parte de la comunidad de habla hispana, le invitamos a que nos acompañe por medio de la plataforma Zoom. En la plataforma Zoom, usted puede levantar su mano en la parte de abajo para notificarnos que desea interpretación en español y lo cambiaremos a la sección donde usted puede recibir todo el audio en idioma español.
And also you can text us this evening. So you can listen to the call, the meeting on your phone, and you can also text us at 512-580-8850. Text Gardner to 512-580-8850.
También nos puede enviar una mensaje por medio de texto. Usted puede, por medio de Public Input, y si desea hacerlo por su teléfono, puede mandar un texto Gardner al 512-580-8850 y después nos va a poder enviar sus comentarios o sus preguntas directamente al proyecto y responderemos sus preguntas durante esta junta o se pueden responder después por medio del sitio web del proyecto.
Thank you. And we'll just wait a few minutes because again, there's a slight delay through the public input platform.
Vamos a esperar unos minutos porque hay una pequeña discrepancia de tiempo en la plataforma de Public Input y estamos esperando a que todos reciban esta información.
All right, it is close to the start time of our meeting. Welcome to the Gardner Road Development Community Meeting. We're glad you're here this evening.
Buenas tardes a todos, bienvenidos a la reunión comunitaria de Gardner Road y estamos felices de que estén con nosotros en esta tarde.
You can join us for Spanish if you need Spanish interpretation at the link, the bit.ly link at the bottom, bit.ly-Gardner Road.
Si desea interpretación en español de esta reunión, puede acompañarnos por medio de la liga bit.ly/Gardner Road que puede encontrar en esta pantalla.
Or you can also join us by phone at 512-580-8850 and text Gardner.
O también nos puede acompañar por medio de teléfono si llama al 512-580-8850 y escribir Gardner.
Thank you. Again, welcome, and we'd love to hear what you would like to get out of today's meeting. You can text us or put your comments in the chat on publicinput.com or text us at 512-580-8850. Text to Gardner.
Y nos encantaría saber lo que usted desea recibir de esta reunión y les agradecemos si nos pueden enviar sus comentarios por las diferentes plataformas, ya sea por medio de Public Input o enviando un texto.
Okay. So again, we'll hold for just a moment to make sure that the folks who are online are caught up with us.
Entonces, nuevamente vamos a esperar unos minutos para las personas que nos están acompañando de manera virtual para que reciban toda la información con nosotros.
And I want to check in with Jasmine, Heather, and Esteban to make sure we're on for the comments and check in and see if you guys have gotten anything yet.
Y quiero revisar con Heather, Esteban y Jasmine para ver si tenemos algún comentario en alguna de las siguientes plataformas.
We don't have any comments at this time on the Zoom webinar chat.
Thank you, Esteban.
Thank you, Sharonda. This is Heather, and we don't have anything to report.
Okay,
Public input.
thank you. Jasmine?
All good over here.
All right, thank you. You're getting an echo, Jasmine.
En este momento recibimos confirmación de los moderadores de los grupos, notificando que no hay ningún comentario en este momento.
All right. Okay. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to today's meeting. I'm Sharonda Robinson, Public Involvement Coordinator for the Gardner Road Affordable Development, Gardner Road Affordable Housing Development Project. Forgive me. Thank you for joining us and welcome. We are joined today by Community Development Administrator Mandy DeMeo and Project Coordinator Travis Perlman, both with the Austin Housing Finance Corporation. Mandy and Travis, can you please say hello?
Good evening, everybody. This is Mandy DeMeo.
Good evening, everyone. Travis Perlman. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Jasmine, you can advance the slide.
Sharonda, my apologies. I am not in the interpreter chat yet. Do you want me to, am I going to be transferred at this time?
Yes, please. And then we want to check and see if there's anyone in there.
Oh, okay. There it is. I just.
Okay, so she's in. All right, perfect. So I want to introduce Mandy DeMeo and Travis Perlman. So Mandy DeMeo is Community Development Administrator for the City of Austin. She is responsible for managing housing and community development programs funded through local, state, and federal resources. In addition, Mandy is responsible for developing and fostering strategic relationships in the community to further the mission of the City of Austin's Neighborhood Housing Community Development Department. She holds a master's degree in public affairs from LBJ at UT Austin and has more than 25 years of experience in the areas of affordable housing and community development. Travis Perlman is a project coordinator in the Neighborhood Housing and Community Development Department at the City of Austin. Travis has been with the city for 5 years and is staff lead on the acquisition and disposition of property for affordable housing. Travis has education and prior experience in forestry and ecology and currently lives with his wife and 2 children in South Austin. In his current role, Travis is focused on building complete communities through the development of affordable housing as envisioned in Imagine Austin. So we would love to be here with you in person, but until we can all come back together again, here's a reminder from Austin Public Health to help slow the spread of coronavirus. So please cover your cough or your sneeze, wash your hands frequently, do not touch your face, and stay home if you feel sick. You can visit the city's resource page at austintexas.gov/COVID-19 for more information. So this is an opportunity for us to hear from you and share updates on the Gardner Road development project. And before we dive in, I want to give you some housekeeping information. You'll see it on the screen in front of you. There are several ways that you can give us feedback for tonight's meeting. You can call us at 512-580-8850 and enter the project code. When you enter the project code, it will allow you to leave a message for the project team. And if you'd like to speak to one of the presenters tonight and ask a question, you can use the project code for that as well. You can also text us. You can text Gardner to 512-580-8850 to share your comments with the project team. And we will be monitoring your texts throughout this meeting. And then you're at the meeting today, and so you can join us and put your comments in the chat box, which is located underneath or next to the video that you're watching. So publicinput.com/Gardner, and you can enter your comments in the chat box. And if you're on Zoom, you can also enter your comments there or raise your hand. We have team members monitoring the text, the phone line, the chat box tonight, and they will be monitoring during the entire meeting. They will be able to ask your question for you or share your comment. So Heather De La Paz is one of our supporters for tonight in terms of supporting the conversation, and Esteban Garza as well. So thank you all for your help tonight. And for our Spanish-speaking attendees who are joining us through Zoom, please raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, and we will unmute you. This webinar is being recorded so that we can replay it on the project website, which is gardnerdevelopmentatx.com. Following tonight's meeting, we'll ask that you complete a survey, and we appreciate your time in doing so. And if you know someone who'd like more information about the project and possibly doesn't have access to the internet, we have provided printed out packets at Walgreens on Airport Boulevard at Oak Springs. So you can go pick up those packets. So I think we're ready to get started. And I see a few comments here, so thank you for your comments. Someone says they're eager to hear the overview of public interest and input. We will definitely be covering that tonight. And someone else says, I'm looking forward to seeing the development ideas. We agree with you, and we are looking forward to that as well. So thank you. You're letting us know our chat is working, so we are in communication, and we're looking forward to sharing some good information and hearing from you tonight. So I want to cover tonight's agenda, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mandy DeMeo and Travis Perlman. So we're going to recap the previous meeting. We met April 21st. We're going to talk about the goals for today's meeting. We will review the public feedback, the input that we received from you all, and then we will share the theoretical development scenarios, which are ideas that are being presented as concepts, draft concepts, and then we'll talk about how to stay engaged. So that's our agenda for this evening. All right. Next slide, please. So, in our April 21st meeting, we introduced and provided background information on the Austin Housing Finance Corporation. We discussed affordable housing needs and goals. We shared the project area and site description, and then discussed development objectives and the timeline. The presentation and the recording of that meeting is at gardnerdevelopmentatx.com. So if you want to hear and see what happened in the previous meeting, you can view it online.
So Sharonda, this is Mandy, and
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and take this and,
Yes.
and dig in a little bit deeper. First, thank you for leading us through the agenda, and thanks to all the folks who are joining us virtually tonight. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules. Some of you or all of you may have attended the April 21st virtual meeting. I just wanted to do a pretty high level, but for those of you who did not attend, we did talk about what Austin Housing Finance Corporation is. And for those of you who don't know, Austin Housing Finance is a housing finance corporation, which is organized under the Texas State Local Government Code. There are housing finance corporations across the state of Texas. We are a public nonprofit corporation, and our board of directors is actually the mayor and city council. So sometimes if you attend a city council meeting, you may hear the mayor recess city council and go into Austin Housing Finance Corporation to take up the business of Austin Housing Finance Corporation. And AHFC, our business, is affordable housing for low and moderate income populations. We finance affordable housing, we create affordable housing, and this is one of the ways in which we create affordable housing is the acquisition and disposition of property. At the meeting on April 21st, we also talked about the city's overall housing needs and our goals for affordable housing. So we provided a little bit of background on Austin's strategic housing blueprint, which was approved by City Council in 2017, that laid out the need over the next 10 years for 60,000 units of affordable housing, housing that is affordable to households earning at or below 80% of the median family income. And we broke it down into different income levels. And then last year, we further broke down that large 60,000 unit goal into city council districts. The project we're talking about tonight is in Council District 3. And the goal for Council District 3 over the next 10 years is almost 6,300, so 6,300 units of affordable housing. And so AHFC assets or other publicly owned land are ways in which we can achieve affordability. I wanted to talk just briefly, we're going to go into some details about the site. But of course, we're talking about the Gardner Road site, which is located in the Go Valley Johnston Terrace neighborhood area. And it's approximately 6 acres. It's just south of Bulm Road, the intersection of Gardner and Bulm Road. Again, approximately 6 acres. And we're going to talk about potential development scenarios that are possible on this site and get some community feedback about that. In terms of the timeline, again, we discussed this on the 21st, but the timeline is we had our first public meeting, April 21st, then our second meeting tonight, and then in June, we plan on releasing a solicitation, a request for proposals, where we'll lay out kind of our expectations for what a developer could do with this site. And then we'll solicit those proposals. We anticipate that we'll give folks at least 60 days to submit proposals. We'll then review the proposals. And by the end of the calendar year, so by December 2020, we anticipate executing an agreement with a developer to create affordable housing on the site. We, of course, don't know what that affordable housing is going to look like yet, which is one of the reasons we want to talk to you all tonight. We anticipate that construction will, based on this timeline, construction would be completed sometime in 2022 or 2023.
Thank you. So next we'll have Travis Perlman, who will review the input that we received from the community in our last meeting, and then also talk about the theoretical development concepts. You unmute yourself, Travis.
Thank you, Sharonda. Thanks for joining us again, everyone who was who attended the last meeting, and for those who are joining us for the first time this meeting, again, thank you for joining us. So we're going to talk about kind of the ways that we collected input, both prior to, during, and after the first meeting up until now. Similar to this, we were dealing with the challenge of coronavirus globally within the city of Austin. So we hosted our first virtual meeting on April 21st. And at that meeting, participants were able to provide input a variety of ways, either live on the video chat. They could also text in their comments, or they could also join via phone and provide their comments that way as well. Both before, during, and after the meeting until the end of April, we had an online survey on our website, which we promoted in the previous meeting. And we also allowed individuals to text us comments both after the meeting as well. And also not listed there is individuals could leave messages, could call 311, leave comments there as well. And then lastly, as Sharonda mentioned previously, we printed copies of the presentations that we gave at the previous meeting and left them at the Walgreens on Airport Boulevard, nearest to the site. With that presentation were paper versions of the surveys as well. And those paper versions could be filled out and mailed back to Austin Housing Finance Corporation as well. So in terms of meeting participation and the amount of feedback we received, we had 25 people who attended the last meeting, and 29 individuals which left comments or that took the survey, and then 10 people that left specific comments as well. So I'm going to go over a high level of what we received in terms of feedback from the community using the variety of different forms that I just laid out. To give you an idea of what this chart is showing, basically we took all the comments that we received and we broke them down into groups, categories based upon key themes identified in the comments. And so those key themes are identified here. You know, a comment may touch on several key themes, and so in that case, it may be categorized under multiple themes in this chart as well. Overwhelmingly, as you can see on the chart, the majority of the comments were related to the incorporation of other uses besides residential uses on the site. Primarily as a community amenity for residential that would be developed on the site. And then in addition to that, there was a number of comments that spoke to specifics around affordability on the site as well. Next slide, please. So in terms of how we're addressing community input, we were pleasantly surprised with some of the comments received around affordability. A lot of them dealt with specific concepts and goals that we are already implementing and intend to implement into our request for proposal, primarily being our development objectives for the site. And so some of those include maximizing the number of affordable units on the site, which we spoke about as our development objectives the last presentation, and really prioritizing deep affordability on the site for extremely and very low income households. And then also providing housing for hard to serve populations, individuals with special needs and such, which is also one of our development objectives as well. And I think what was useful on those comments is we felt like it was somewhat confirmation that we were on the right track in terms of our development objectives. And in addition to those comments around the affordability, as I mentioned, the majority of comments were related to the desire to see the inclusion of different non-residential uses on the site, and specifically focused around a specific development concept. A lot of it was focused on development concept envisioned by the Imagine Art organization, who is headed up by Debbie Kaiser, who has a very specific vision of an inclusive artists community. And so a number of individuals, I think, that support that vision participated in the previous meeting. And we're happy to have y'all. I've spoken to Debbie several times, and I'm well aware of kind of her master vision and plans and goals for the development that she's looking to build. And I think it's a beautiful vision, and I think there's no reason why that specific vision could not why we could not consider it, as long as it is focused on housing primarily. But in addition to that, because this is a competitive solicitation, we're not really in the space to kind of select specific developers to kind of hand off projects to. But I fully expect Debbie to submit a request for proposal for this site, and look forward to receiving that. Next slide, please. So now we're going to get into potential development ideas for the site. And I kind of want to, before we move on to those, I kind of want to provide some context for what these ideas are. We've contracted an economic.
Can you repeat that last part? It went out just a little bit.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So we're going to present 3 potential development concepts for the site. And I want to give a little bit of context to everybody in terms of what those development concepts are and what they are not. We contracted with an economic and financial consultant, an architectural design consultant, and a civil engineering consultant to develop concepts for the site that include both conceptual designs showing buildings on the site, so that participants could get a feel for what development could look like on the site. And as far as the financial consultant, we had them run financial feasibility analysis for what could be developed on the site and what the City of Austin's subsidy that would be needed to fund that specific affordable housing. And so as we go through these concepts, what you'll see is specific number of bedrooms, affordability levels for each development, number of units and such. And then you'll also see City of Austin subsidy per unit and total. And so in terms of these development concepts, these are things that we believe could be developed on the site, and that we may see requests for proposals submitted for things similar to this. Now, we may see things similar to this, but I can guarantee you that whatever ultimately gets developed on the site will not be the same as any of these development concepts. It will either be slightly different or it may be entirely different. But again, we're kind of using this as a tool to kind of familiarize people with what development could look like on the site, what the implications are as far as affordable housing, and also use it as a tool to gain additional feedback from participants as well. Next slide, please. So the first concept that we had our consultants work on was a concept that kind of divides the site up more or less evenly into small lot, single family, detached homes, there you see in the yellow, and small lot, attached duplexes, you see in kind of the darker yellowish brown. And in this concept, we found that we could achieve potentially up to 36 units on the site. And we decided to model it based assuming that 50% of the units, so 50% of the single family detached units and 50% of the duplexes would be affordable to households at 80% MFI. And so for a 4-person household, that would be a gross annual income of a little over $78,000. And a home that would be affordable at that sales price that would be sold to that home today would be sold at a price of $211,000. And in this concept, these homes would be 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-story homes for both the duplexes and the single-family detached homes. Again, we were able to achieve 36 units on 36 total units on the site, or 72 total units on the site, 36 of those which would be affordable at 80% MFI. And in terms of the average subsidy that would be needed, we found that because there's a good market for market rate units in this area, and because that we were only modeling that we would require 50% of the units to be affordable, that we actually wouldn't have to necessarily give any additional subsidy beyond the land itself. And so what we found essentially is that someone, a developer or builder, could either purchase the land for free or lease the land using a ground lease or some other mechanism from Austin Housing Finance Corporation, develop 72 units on the site, and they'd be able to pay us $82,000 per affordable unit. So $82,000 for each of the 36 affordable units. So essentially they'd be able to buy the land from us for about $3 million and deliver 36 affordable units. What this is useful for is showing that, because we would not have to give any additional subsidy, and because it is positive, we could potentially get additional affordability on the site. And kind of some preliminary back of the napkin analysis, I think we could probably get additional 4 to 5 units on the site and then have the total city subsidy needed at 0. And so in that situation, we would have 0 city subsidy, but we would have somewhere around 41 or 42 affordable units on the site. Next slide, please. And so this is kind of a 3-dimensional model of what development could look like on the site. Again, this is somewhat crude. It's kind of not the normal architectural features that you would see, but you can kind of see the photos down on the bottom of the right in the screen to give you a little bit more context in terms of what this is going to look like on the ground. Next slide, please. So the second concept we modeled was a 3-story walk-up apartment with surface parking. So this is a very common type of development that's been developed around the country, really since probably the mid-late 60s. It's still very common today. And in terms of this development, we assumed that this type of development would be a small 4% tax credit project. And for people that aren't familiar with the low-income housing tax credit program, that's a federal program that's defined under the Internal Revenue Service Code. That's the largest producer of affordable multifamily housing in the country. And it's a program that's been around for decades as well. It's a program that a good portion of the projects that our organization funds also receives low-income housing tax credits, which are distributed through the state housing finance agency called the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. And so in this development, we found that we could get about 190 units on the site. And then you see kind of the bedroom counts and the affordability levels there. We have about 30 units there at 30% MFI, so that would be affordable to a household of 4 at $29,000. At 50% MFI, We have 60 units, 60% MFI, 70 units, and 80% MFI, 30 units. And so this is a deeply affordable project. This would be similar to the type of projects that we currently fund in terms of both the bedroom counts and the affordability levels. And when we ran the financial analysis on this development scenario, again, we found a positive subsidy. And so when you see the negative sign there under city subsidy per affordable unit needed, negative $21,000, that means that we would have to give negative $21,000. In other words, we could be paid $21,000 in this per affordable unit, and this project would still be financially feasible for a developer to build.
So let me make sure that everyone got that. What you just shared was that we would pay $21,000 per unit?
No, in this scenario, a developer could pay us $21,000 per affordable unit. So
Okay.
we have 190 affordable units on the site. So a developer could pay $21,000 times 190 units, which equals a little over $4 million, the number below right there. So a developer theoretically could pay us $4 million for the site and potentially build this project.
Okay,
And so again, we would not necessarily need any additional subsidy.
got it. Thank you.
One thing that I do want to point out here, though, is this analysis does not take into account the timing of money. In terms of development, developers get different amounts of money at different times, whether it be from the bank, whether it be the low-income housing tax credits, whether it be gap financing from our organization. And because of that timing of money, and because a development may need additional money that they have available at a certain time, that kind of necessitates potential need for gap financing. In that scenario, essentially, we could give a small amount of gap financing to get through pre-development and early on until tax credits to the tax credit equity started being received by the developer. But we would expect that those benefits would be repaid either through a ground lease or through a partnership, through financial benefits as part of a partnership agreement or something of that nature. And so keep in mind that while it shows that a developer could pay $4 million for this, that payment may not be able to be made completely upfront. And some of those financial benefits may not accrue to the Housing Finance Corporation till later in the future, potentially paid out of the cash flow of the development once it's being operated. Next slide, please. And so again, this is kind of a 3D model of what development could look like on the site for a 3-story walk-up concept. And then again, in the bottom right, you see the photograph of a facade of what type of these buildings look like. And so the third and last development concept we modeled was kind of a mixed building topology concept. And so in this concept, a little bit more than half of the site is devoted towards 4-story apartments with parking garage. And then a little bit less than half of the site is dedicated towards 2-story small lot duplexes there in the yellow and brown you can see on the image. And in terms of the affordability and bedroom information for this site, we found that under this scenario, we could develop a 250-unit 4-story multifamily apartment on the site and 32 duplex units on the site, and for a total of 252 affordable units. And again, this project has deep affordability. This is similar to a project that we would finance. And we're assuming that this would be a 4% tax credit project. And so when you take a look at the subsidy per unit, this one, we would have to give a small subsidy per unit of $12,000 per unit. And that's primarily because of the increased construction costs associated with this type of multifamily development, and the fact that the 4% tax credit program doesn't provide the amount of financing that the 9% tax credit program does. And so there's a need for additional gap funding, and often a need for additional gap funding in those types of scenarios. And in this scenario, we estimated the total subsidy needed to develop this concept would be $3 million. Next slide, please. And so this is the three-dimensional model of what that might look like on the site. And again, photographs of similar building facades down in the bottom right. Next slide, please. And so, as Sharonda mentioned previously, as well as I mentioned, you know, we're really looking. Part of developing these development concepts were to use them as kind of a prompt to get additional feedback, to understand, you know, what you may or may not like in each development concept. And so we've put up a survey that's available on our website. You can see the link there, gardnerdevelopmentatx.com. That survey will be available until the end of the month. We'd appreciate everyone on the line going on there, providing us their comments and feedback, and also sharing that survey with your friends to also provide additional feedback. And so as we move forward in our development timeline, I wanted to kind of highlight ways to stay engaged. This is our second community meeting before the release of our request for proposal. We're not anticipating an additional community meeting until we release the request for proposal in June. But one thing that we want to make sure to do is everyone that's been participating in these meetings, that's interested in these projects, we want to keep them engaged along the entire way of both the solicitation process and the development process. And so we're going to be sending out periodic emails going forward to the email distribution list that we've compiled from these meetings. So in terms of when you could expect updates, we'll provide updates once we release the request for proposal, and people could also go and see the request for proposal and see what that looks like. Also, when we've awarded it, so when we were awarded the winning proposal, so that people have an idea of, generally speaking, what is going to be developed on the site. And also, you know, once we finally executed a development agreement with the winning proposer, and we know pretty solidly what will be developed on the site. And then again, as the project, as the development team starts the development review process and starts construction, we will provide updates at zoning. This site is currently zoned public. It will need to be rezoned for residential housing to be developed on the site. That's also another opportunity potentially for interested stakeholders to provide additional input is at that zoning case as well. And so we will let stakeholders know when those zoning cases are. And then once construction starts, we intend to provide at least semi-annual updates on the progress of construction going forward. And lastly, again, appreciate everybody's participation. I want to let everybody know that emails and phone calls are always welcome. Whether it's no questions too big or too small, and any additional feedback or comments that you have, please feel free to reach out to us.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you for sharing the concepts, and thank you, Mandy, for reviewing the previous meeting. Now is your opportunity if you are on the line or would like to text or would like to give us a comment in the chat box for you to share your thoughts, ideas, opinions, questions about the Gardner Road Development Project. So there are several ways that you can share your comments. You can put your information in the chat box. If you're on publicinput.com, it is below or next to the video that you're watching. You can also send us a text to Gardner Road, text Gardner to, and if Jasmine, you can put the phone number back up for me, 512, thank you, 580-8850. You can text us your comments. We'll be checking those lines. We've got about 30, 40 minutes for Q&A for our time today. So I see that there are some comments that are coming in. I want to check in with Heather and Esteban to see if they've received any comments or questions so far.
Thank you, Sharonda. This is Heather. I see we have a message from Debbie. Question is, what is the role of the neighborhood association during the RFP decision period and the contracting pre-construction period?
Thank you, Debbie, for your question. So what's the role of the neighborhood during contracting and pre-construction?
This is Mandy. So we're not anticipating an explicit role for the neighborhood association in terms of selection of the ultimate contractor for this project. But as Travis mentioned, there are multiple opportunities, particularly through zoning, for the neighborhood association to be involved throughout the project. And I do want to say we've been in close contact with the neighborhood association throughout pre-community engagement and throughout community engagement in this process.
Okay, thank you. Esteban, do you have a question or a comment?
Sure. It looks like all comments and questions were answered while Travis was talking.
I can't hear you, but I think you said no. Okay, you're off mute now.
There you go. Looks like all comments were answered by Travis and Mandy.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, I'm going to check here.
Sharon,
Go ahead, Heather.
we have another question from Raul on public input. Question is, what is the targeted level of affordability that you will be asking RFP respondents to meet?
Travis, you want to take that one?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Raul, for the question. I appreciate it. So in terms of specific affordability levels, Raul, we're not calling out specific affordability levels in our request for proposal. What we are intend to do is incentivize proposers to provide proposals that get at specific high-level development objectives around affordability. And so those development objectives include maximizing the affordable units, but also maximizing the depth of affordability. And so to your question, when this is evaluated by the request for proposal panel, it will be evaluated through the lens of, does this project provide deeply affordable units to households at 30% of the median family income and below, and 50% of the median family income below?
So
Yeah, and Travis, I'm sorry, Sharonda. I was just going to build on that a little bit.
So I just want to interrupt for just a moment because we lost playback, and I just want to check in and make sure I'm monitoring the live stream and make sure Jasmine and Madura, are you all seeing that? It says video playback interrupted.
I'm reestablishing the live. Give me 1 second.
Okay, thank you.